abandoned at the altar, then claimed by a monster. The moment Aria Bennett realized her groom wasn't coming, the church fell silent. 200 witnesses, white roses everywhere, and nobody moving to help her. Then he appeared. Dorian Volkov. The name parents used to scare their kids quiet. A man who owned half the city's underground and all of its fear. He walked down that aisle like he owned it. Maybe he did. "She's mine now," he said. And just like that, Aria's life ended and something far more dangerous began. Stay with me until the end of this story. Hit that like button and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this tale travels. The wedding dress cost more than Aria's car. That was the first thing she thought about when Marcus didn't show up. Not the 200 guests filling the pews, not her mother crying in the front row, not even the priest awkwardly clearing his throat for the 4th time. Just the dress. $12,000 of ivory silk and lace that her father couldn't actually afford but bought anyway, because that's what fathers did for their only daughters. Aria stood at the altar alone, bouquet trembling in her hands, and waited. The church smelled like roses and furniture polish. Sunlight cut through the stained glass windows in blues and reds, painting colored shadows across the marble floor. Everything looked exactly like it was supposed to. Picture perfect. Except for the missing groom. "Maybe there's traffic," someone whispered behind her. There wasn't traffic. It was Sunday morning in a city that barely woke up before noon. Marcus's apartment was 15 minutes away. Aria's maid of honor, Jessica, touched her elbow. "Ari, honey, maybe we should— He's coming." Aria's voice came out steadier than she felt. "He's just late. Marcus is always late." But Marcus was never this late, and the look on Jessica's face said they both knew it. The priest leaned in, his voice low and careful. "Miss Bennett, perhaps we should take a small break. Give the young man some time to—" Aria's phone buzzed in Jessica's hand. They tucked it into the bridesmaid bouquet for emergencies. This counted. Jessica looked at the screen. Her face went pale. "What?" Aria asked. "Ari, don't—" Aria snatched the phone. The message was from Marcus's number. No words, just a photo. Marcus and Claire, Aria's cousin Claire, tangled up in hotel sheets. The timestamp read 40 minutes ago. The location tag showed the Meridian Hotel, 6 blocks away. Below the photo, "Sorry, couldn't do it. You deserve better than a lie." The phone slipped from Aria's fingers. It hit the marble with a crack that echoed through the church. 200 people heard it. 200 people saw her face, and nobody said a damn word. Aria's vision blurred, not from tears. Those would come later. From the sudden rush of blood to her head, the way your body floods with adrenaline when it realizes you're in danger, even if that danger is just public humiliation and financial ruin. "Aria, sweetheart." Her father stood from the front pew, his face red. "I'm fine." She wasn't fine. She was the opposite of fine, but what else do you say when your entire life implodes in front of an audience? The whispers started then, low and spreading like fire. "Is that— Oh my God, did he really— With her cousin? How long do you think—" Aria wanted to run, wanted to gather up all that expensive silk and sprint down the aisle and keep going until her legs gave out. But her body wouldn't move. She just stood there, bouquet still in her hand like an idiot, while 200 people watched her dreams dissolve. Then the church doors opened. Not the gentle, rehearsed opening from the wedding coordinator. This was sudden, forceful, the kind of entrance that made everyone turn around. A man walked in. Not Marcus. This man wore black, not a tuxedo, a suit that probably cost more than the entire wedding. Tailored so perfectly it looked like it was born on him. Dark hair swept back from a face that magazines would call handsome and cops would call trouble. Aria knew who he was. Everyone in the city knew who he was. Dorian Volkov. He owned things, businesses, properties, people, the kind of things that didn't show up on tax returns, the kind of people who disappeared when they caused problems. Aria had seen him exactly once before, 2 years ago, at a charity gala her father's company sponsored. She'd been serving champagne to earn extra money for grad school. Dorian had walked past her, and every person in that ballroom had held their breath until he left. Now he was walking down the aisle of her wedding like he belonged there. People pressed back into the pews, making space, making sure not to touch him. Dorian's shoes clicked against marble. Each step measured, deliberate. He stopped in front of Arya. Up close, his eyes were gray, cold gray, like winter sky before snow. They looked at her the way a jeweler looks at a diamond, assessing value, checking for flaws. "Arya Bennett," he said. His voice was smooth, almost gentle, the kind of gentle that made you nervous because you knew violence lived underneath it. Arya's mouth was too dry to answer. Dorian glanced at the empty space beside her where Marcus should have been, then back to her face. "It appears you've been left at the altar." Not a question, a statement. Arya's voice cracked. She cleared her throat. "I don't understand what you're doing here." "Claiming what's mine." The church went quieter. That shouldn't have been possible, but somehow the silence deepened. Arya's father pushed forward. "Now wait just a minute." Dorian didn't even look at him, just raised one hand, palm out, a simple gesture. Two men appeared from the back of the church, big men in matching black suits. They didn't touch Arya's father, didn't need to, just stood there, blocking his path. "Mr. Bennett," Dorian said, still looking at Arya, "your daughter is in considerable debt. The wedding expenses alone total $63,000, most of it borrowed. Your business is 3 months from bankruptcy. Your house has a second mortgage you can't afford." Arya's father went white. "How do you—" Arya started. "I know everything worth knowing." Dorian's eyes never left hers. "Your former fiancé worked for one of my competitors. Not directly. Marcus wasn't important enough for that. But he had access to certain information that's now been compromised. I don't understand what that has to do with me." "You were his leverage." Dorian said it simply, like he was explaining arithmetic. "A connection to your father's shipping company. Small operation, but useful for moving certain goods without scrutiny. Marcus was supposed to marry you, gain access to your father's business, and provide that access to people who would have used it against me." The words didn't make sense. Marcus was an accountant. Boring, reliable Marcus, who forgot birthdays and always ordered chicken at restaurants because he was afraid of trying new things. "That's insane," Arya whispered. "That's business." Dorian stepped closer, close enough that Arya could smell his cologne, something expensive and sharp. "But your former fiancé made a critical error. He fell in love with someone else. Your cousin, apparently, and love makes people stupid. So what do you want?" "To offer you a choice." Dorian glanced around the church, at the 200 witnesses, at her father, still blocked by the silent men in suits, at her mother, who had stopped crying and now looked terrified. "You can walk out of this church alone, humiliated, broke, ruined. Your father's business will collapse. Your family will lose everything. And Marcus and your cousin will move to whatever city they've planned their escape to, leaving you here to deal with the aftermath." Arya's hands clenched around her bouquet so hard the stems cracked. "Or?" she asked. Dorian smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Or you marry me instead." The church erupted. Not loud chaos. That would have been easier. Just urgent whispers spreading like disease. Arya heard fragments. "Is he serious? That's insane. I said." "She can't actually—" "You're out of your mind," Arya said. "Probably." Dorian didn't look bothered by this assessment. "But I'm also very rich, very powerful, and very interested in keeping your father's shipping routes clean and under my control. A marriage accomplishes that. It also sends a message to my competitors that I take what's mine. I'm not yours." "Not yet." Jessica grabbed Arya's arm. "Arya, you can't seriously be considering this. He's a criminal." "Allegedly," Dorian said mildly. "Everyone knows what you are," Jessica shot back. "Yes, they do." Dorian looked at her with those cold gray eyes. "Which is why your friend should understand exactly what she's choosing. I don't make promises I can't keep. Marry me, and I'll clear your father's debts. Your family keeps their house, their business, their life. You get safety, security, and revenge." "Revenge?" Arya asked. "Marcus took something from you today? Your dignity, your future, your trust." Dorian's voice dropped lower. "Marry me, and I'll make sure everyone in this city knows you didn't just survive his betrayal. You transcended it. You'll walk out of this church as my wife. Do you know what that means? That I'm insane? That you're untouchable." Arya's father finally pushed past the guards. Arya, sweetheart, please don't listen to him. We'll figure something out. We always do. But they both knew that was a lie. Her father was a good man, but not a strong one, not the kind who figured things out when they got hard. Arya looked at her mother, saw the fear there, the exhaustion. Her mother had aged 10 years in the last 10 minutes. She looked at Jessica, her best friend since third grade, who was shaking her head frantically. She looked at the 200 guests, most of whom would be gossiping about this for years. Then she looked at Dorian Volkov. "Why me?" she asked. "If you just want the shipping company, there are easier ways." "True." Dorian tilted his head slightly. "But I watched you serve champagne at the Hanover Gala 2 years ago. Do you remember?" Arya blinked. "What?" "Some drunk businessman grabbed your wrist, tried to pull you onto his lap. You smiled at him, sweet smile. Then you dumped an entire tray of champagne over his head and told him if he touched you again, you'd break his fingers." I got fired for that." "You stood up for yourself." Dorian's expression didn't change, but something in his voice did. Approval, maybe. "Most people fold when power pushes them. You pushed back. That interests me." "So this is what? Some kind of test?" "This is an opportunity." Dorian extended his hand. "Take it or leave it, but decide now. I don't wait." Arya looked at his hand. Strong fingers. No wedding ring. A scar across the knuckles that looked old and deliberately earned. Her phone buzzed again on the floor. Probably Marcus. Probably more excuses. She thought about the $12,000 dress. The collapsed future. The humiliation that would follow her forever if she walked out of here alone. Then she thought about the look on Marcus's face if she married someone else. Someone dangerous. Someone powerful. Someone who could destroy him without breaking a sweat. Arya dropped her bouquet. It hit the marble with a soft thud. She put her hand in Dorian's. His fingers closed around hers, warm despite everything else about him being cold. "Smart girl," he said quietly. The priest looked like he might have a stroke. "This is highly irregular. Marry us." Dorian didn't raise his voice. Didn't need to. "Now." "I can't just—" One of the men in black suits stepped forward, placed a folded piece of paper on the altar. The priest opened it, read, went even paler. "Of course," the priest said weakly, "if you'll both just skip the ceremony." Dorian pulled Arya closer. "Just the vows and the paperwork." Arya's head was spinning. This was happening too fast. Everything was happening too fast. "Do you, Arya Michelle Bennett?" The priest's voice shook. "Take this man." "I do." The words came out before Arya could think about them. Dorian didn't wait for the priest to ask. "I do." "Then by the power, skip to the end. Husband and wife." The priest practically whispered it. Dorian slipped a ring onto Arya's finger. She hadn't even seen where it came from. Heavy white gold, diamond the size of her thumbnail. The kind of ring that could feed a family for a year. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. Dorian leaned down. For one terrible second, Arya thought he was going to kiss her. In front of everyone. In front of her parents. Instead, he whispered in her ear, "Smile. Give them a good show." Then he turned her toward the crowd. 200 faces stared back, shocked, confused, afraid. Arya's mother was crying again. Her father looked like he'd been hit by a truck. Jessica's mouth hung open. And in the very back of the church, near the doors, Arya saw someone she recognized. Marcus. He must have come back. Guilty conscience or cold feet about his cold feet. It didn't matter now. He stood there in his rumpled suit, Claire beside him looking terrified, and watched Arya become someone else's wife. Dorian's hand tightened on hers. "Wave," he murmured. Arya raised their joined hands. The diamond caught the light from the stained glass windows. Threw rainbows across the church. Someone started clapping. Arya couldn't tell who. Maybe one of Dorian's men. Maybe someone who understood survival when they saw it. The applause spread, hesitant at first, then stronger. Because what else do you do when a monster claims a bride? You clap. You pretend it's normal. You pray you're not next. Dorian led Arya down the aisle, past the pews full of people she'd known her whole life, past her parents, past Jessica, past Marcus, who reached out as they approached. "Arya, wait!" Dorian didn't break stride. Didn't even acknowledge Marcus existed. But one of the black-suited men did, stepped between them, and Marcus stumbled backward into Claire. They walked out of the church into blinding sunlight. A car waited. Black, expensive. Windows tinted dark enough to be illegal. The door opened before they reached it. Dorian gestured for Arya to get in. She hesitated. "Second thoughts?" he asked. Arya looked back at the church, at the crowd spilling out onto the steps, watching, at her entire life standing there in a building she'd attended since childhood. "Too late for those," she said. She got in the car. Dorian slid in beside her. The door closed. The sound of it was final, like a vault ceiling. The driver pulled away from the curb without being told. Arya sat in silence for 3 blocks before reality hit. She'd just married a stranger, a dangerous stranger, a man who people crossed the street to avoid. "Where are we going?" Her voice came out steadier than she expected. "My house." Dorian was looking at his phone, scrolling through messages like this was any other Sunday. "Our house now, technically." "I didn't pack anything." "You won't need what you packed." Arya looked down at her wedding dress. "I can't wear this forever." "You won't." Dorian glanced up. "Everything you need will be provided. Clothes, toiletries, whatever you want." "What if what I want is to go home?" "That's not an option." "Because I'm a prisoner?" "Because you're my wife." He said it simply, matter of fact. "And my wife doesn't live in a rented apartment in a bad neighborhood. She lives with me, under my protection." "Protection from what?" Dorian's phone buzzed. He read the message. His jaw tightened slightly. The first real emotion Arya had seen from him. "From people who will now see you as a target," he said. "I have enemies, Arya, dangerous ones. They can't touch me directly, so they'll look for other ways. Leverage, weakness." "And I'm a weakness?" "You're my wife. That makes you both a weakness and a weapon." Dorian pocketed his phone. "Which is why you'll learn to protect yourself." "I don't know how to." "You'll learn." The car turned down a tree-lined street. The neighborhood changed, got quieter, more expensive. Houses became estates. Lawns became grounds. They stopped in front of iron gates, tall enough to keep out anyone who wasn't invited, strong enough to keep out anyone who was stupid enough to try anyway. The gates opened. The driveway curved through perfectly maintained gardens. Arya saw fountains, statues, more money in landscaping than her parents had in their entire house. The house itself looked like something from a movie. Modern lines, glass and stone, beautiful and cold, like its owner. The car stopped at the front entrance. Dorian got out first, offered his hand to help Arya. She ignored it, got out on her own. The front door opened before they reached it. A woman stood there, older, maybe 60. Gray hair pulled back, dressed in black that was too formal to be casual, but too simple to be fancy. "Mrs. Chen," Dorian said. "This is my wife, Arya. She'll need a room prepared." "I've prepared the east bedroom, Mr. Volkov." "The main bedroom." Mrs. Chen's eyebrows rose slightly. Just a fraction. "Of course." She stepped aside to let them in. The inside matched the outside. Expensive, beautiful, cold. White marble floors, high ceilings, art on the walls that Arya recognized from museum visits. "Mrs. Chen manages the house," Dorian explained. "If you need anything, ask her." "What about you?" Arya asked. "I'll be in my office." Business doesn't stop for weddings. He started toward a hallway, then paused. "Dinner is at 8. Dress appropriately." "I don't have anything appropriate." "Check the closet." Then he was gone. Just walked away like he hadn't just married a complete stranger and brought her to his fortress. Mrs. Chen cleared her throat gently. "If you'll follow me, Mrs. Volkov." Mrs. Volkov. The name sounded wrong, foreign. Arya followed Mrs. Chen up a curved staircase, down a hallway lined with more expensive art, through a door at the end. The bedroom was bigger than Arya's entire apartment. King bed, sitting area, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the gardens. A door led to what looked like a bathroom the size of a spa, and the closet. Mrs. Chen opened it. Arya's breath caught. Clothes, racks and racks of them. Dresses, pants, shirts, all in her size. Shoes lined up like soldiers. bags on shelves. How did he? Mr. Volkov is very thorough, Mrs. Chen said. I'll leave you to freshen up. If you need anything, there's an intercom by the bed. She left, closing the door softly. Arya stood in the middle of the enormous bedroom and finally let herself fall apart. Not crying. She was too angry for tears. She grabbed one of the silk pillows from the bed and threw it across the room. It hit the wall with a pathetic thump and fell to the floor. She grabbed another. Same result. It didn't help. Arya sank onto the bed. The mattress was probably worth more than her car. Everything in this house was worth more than everything she'd ever owned. And now she lived here, as Dorian Volkov's wife. Her phone rang. She'd grabbed it from the church floor without thinking. Muscle memory. Marcus's name flashed on the screen. Arya stared at it, let it ring, ring, ring. Then she answered. Arya, thank God. Marcus's voice rushed out. Listen, I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but you can't actually marry him. Do you know what he is? Your new brother-in-law, Arya said. This isn't funny. No, it's really not. Arya stood, walked to the window, looked out at gardens that probably cost more to maintain than Marcus made in a year. But it's done. We can fix this. We can get it annulled. Just come to the hotel. We'll figure it out. We. The word tasted bitter. Is Claire there? Silence. Yeah, Marcus said finally. She's here. Tell her the wedding dress looked better on me. Arya hung up, blocked his number. Then she walked into the bathroom and started running a bath because she didn't know what else to do. The tub was marble, deep enough to drown in. The water came out hot and perfect. Arya peeled off the $12,000 dress, left it in a pile on the floor, stepped into the water. It felt like the first real breath she'd taken since standing at that altar. She sank down until the water covered her shoulders, closed her eyes, tried to figure out what the hell she was going to do now. Basim. Dinner at 8 turned out to be a formal affair. Arya found a black dress in the closet that fit perfectly. Simple, elegant, expensive. She paired it with heels that were surprisingly comfortable and went downstairs at 7:58. A dining room the size of a restaurant. Table long enough to seat 20. Only 2 places set at opposite ends. Dorian was already there. He'd changed into a different suit, still black, still perfectly tailored. He looked up when she entered. His eyes traveled over her, assessing. Good, he said. You clean up well. Thanks, Arya said flatly. You too. She sat at the opposite end of the table, a distance that felt symbolic. Staff appeared. Not Mrs. Chen, younger people in black uniforms. They brought food, steak, vegetables, wine. Arya wasn't hungry, but she ate anyway. Survival instinct. Dorian ate in silence. Efficient. Controlled. After 5 minutes, Arya couldn't take it anymore. So do we just sit here in silence? She asked. Is this what marriage looks like for you? I didn't marry you for conversation. Right. You married me for my father's shipping company and to send a message to your enemies. Correct. And what am I supposed to do? Just sit in this giant house and look pretty? Dorian set down his fork. You're supposed to adapt. To what? To being my wife. He leaned back in his chair. That means certain responsibilities. Appearances at events. Dinners with business associates. Maintaining the image of a united front. So I'm a prop. You're a partner. There's a difference. Is there? Arya pushed her plate away. Because from where I'm sitting, I'm a prisoner with nice clothes. You're free to leave anytime you want. Arya laughed. It came out harsh. We both know that's not true. You're right. Dorian's expression didn't change. Your freedom ended the moment you took my hand, but you made that choice. Nobody forced you. You backed me into a corner. I gave you options. You chose the one that served you best. He stood, walked toward her end of the table, slow, deliberate. Don't pretend to be a victim, Arya. You're smarter than that. He stopped beside her chair, close enough that Arya had to look up to meet his eyes. I'll make you a deal, he said. Give this 6 months. Learn the role. Play the part. If at the end of 6 months you genuinely want out, I'll arrange a quiet divorce. Your family keeps the money. You keep the jewelry. Everyone walks away clean. And if I want out now? Then you get nothing. Your father's business collapses, your family loses everything, and you go back to your old life with the added bonus of having publicly married and divorced a crime lord in the span of a day. Arya's hands clenched in her lap. You're a bastard. Yes. Dorian leaned down. His breath ghosted across her cheek. But I'm a useful bastard, and I keep my promises. He straightened, stepped back. 6 months, he repeated, starting now. Then he walked out of the dining room, leaving Arya alone with cold steak and colder choices. She sat there for a long time. Then she picked up her wine glass and drank the whole thing in 3 swallows. 6 months. She could survive 6 months. She'd survived today, hadn't she? Arya stood, headed back upstairs to the prison that looked like a palace. Behind her, she heard music, soft jazz coming from somewhere in the house. She followed the sound, found Dorian in a room she hadn't seen before. Library. Floor-to-ceiling books, leather chairs, a bar in the corner. He stood by the window, glass of something amber in his hand, looking out at the dark gardens. I thought you said business doesn't stop, Arya said from the doorway. It doesn't. Dorian didn't turn around. But sometimes business requires thinking, and thinking requires quiet. Is that what I am now? Business? You're my wife. You keep saying that like it means something. It means everything. Dorian finally turned. The light from the window caught his face, made shadows under his cheekbones. In my world, loyalty is currency. Family is armor. You're both now. I'm not loyal to you? Not yet. He smiled slightly. But you will be. How can you be so sure? Because the alternative is death. He said it simply. Not for me, but my enemies will come for you eventually. They'll test you, hurt you if they can. And when that happens, you'll realize something important. What's that? That I'm the only thing keeping you alive. Arya's blood ran cold. You're trying to scare me, she said. I'm trying to prepare you. Dorian set down his glass. Tomorrow, you start training. Training for what? Survival. He walked past her toward the door, paused. Get some sleep, Arya. You'll need it. Then he was gone again. Arya stood in the library surrounded by books and silence. Somewhere in the house, a clock chimed 9. Her wedding day was almost over, and her new life was just beginning. Arya didn't sleep. She lay in the enormous bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle around her. Every creak made her jump. Every distant sound made her wonder if someone was coming. No one came. At 4 a.m, she gave up and took another bath. The water didn't help this time. She got out, dried off, and found workout clothes in the closet. If Dorian wanted her up for training, she'd be ready. She went downstairs at 5:30. The kitchen was already lit. Mrs. and Chen stood at the counter preparing coffee. You're up early, Mrs. Volkov, she said without turning around. Couldn't sleep. Arya sat at the kitchen island. And please, just call me Arya. Mr. Volkov prefers formality in the household. Mr. Volkov isn't here. Mrs. Chen's mouth twitched, almost a smile. She poured coffee into 2 cups, slid one across to Arya. He'll be down in 20 minutes. He runs every morning at 6. Runs where? The property. 3 miles through the grounds. Mrs. Chen pulled eggs from the refrigerator. You should eat something. The training is not gentle. Arya's stomach nodded. What kind of training? The kind that keeps you alive. The eggs sizzled in the pan. Mrs. Chen cooked with the same efficiency everything in this house seemed to operate on. Quick, precise, no wasted movement. How long have you worked for him? Arya asked. 12 years. That's a long time. Mr. Volkov values loyalty. Mrs. Chen plated the eggs, set them in front of Arya with toast. He also rewards it. And if you're not loyal? Mrs. Chen met her eyes. For the first time, Arya saw something hard there, something that had seen things and survived them. Then you don't work here very long, Mrs. Chen said quietly. Footsteps on the stairs cut off whatever Arya might have said next. Dorian appeared in running clothes, athletic pants, tight shirt that showed exactly how built he was under those expensive suits. His hair was still damp from a shower. He looked at Arya. You're up. You said training starts today. I did. He grabbed the second cup of coffee, drank it black. But not until 7. You have time to eat. I'm not hungry. Eat anyway. You'll need the energy. It wasn't a suggestion. Arya picked up her fork. The eggs tasted like nothing. She forced them down anyway. Dorian watched her for a moment, then looked at Mrs. Chen. Victor called. He'll be here at 7 with the equipment. I've prepared the East Gym, Mrs. Chen said. Good. Dorian left without another word. Arya heard the front door open and close. Then silence. East Gym? Arya asked. Mr. Volkov has 2. East is for combat training. West is for general fitness. Mrs. Chen started cleaning up. Finish your breakfast. You'll want to use the restroom before Victor arrives. He doesn't believe in breaks. Who's Victor? Your instructor. Mrs. Chen's expression stayed neutral, but something in her tone shifted. He's very good at what he does. That didn't sound reassuring. Arya finished eating, drank more coffee, used the bathroom. By the time she made her way to the East Gym, it was 6:55. The gym looked like something from a military training facility. Mats on the floor, punching bags hanging from the ceiling, weights. Equipment Arya didn't recognize, and standing in the center of it all was a man who looked like he'd been carved from granite. Victor was huge. 6'4" at least. Bald head, scars on his knuckles and one across his left eyebrow. He wore a plain black shirt and pants, and when he looked at Arya, his eyes were flat and assessing. So you're the new wife, he said, Russian accent, thick enough to swim in. Arya, she said, I know your name. Victor circled her slowly. Too thin, no muscle, soft hands. You've never been in a real fight. I've never needed to be. You do now. He stopped in front of her. Dorian says you have 6 months to learn. That's not much time. Learn what exactly? How not to die. Victor gestured to the mats. Basic self-defense. How to recognize threats. How to move in a crisis. How to use what's around you as a weapon. I thought I was supposed to be protected. Protection fails. Guards get killed. Plans go wrong. Victor's voice was matter-of-fact. When that happens, you need to know how to protect yourself. Even for 30 seconds. 30 seconds is the difference between living and dying. The gym door opened. Dorian walked in, showered, and changed into fresh clothes. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Begin, he said to Victor. Victor moved fast. 1 second he was standing still, the next his hand was around Arya's wrist. Not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough that she couldn't pull away. Someone grabs you like this, he said. What do you do? Arya tried to yank her arm back. Victor didn't budge. Wrong. You're using the wrong muscles. Smaller muscles against bigger ones. You'll lose every time. He let go. Try again. This time, rotate your wrist toward my thumb. That's the weak point. They practiced the same move for 20 minutes. Arya's wrist started to ache. Again, Victor said. I'm doing it. You're doing it slow. In a real situation, you have 1 chance. Maybe 2. Then you're down and they're on top of you. He grabbed her wrist again. Faster. Arya twisted. Hard. This time her hand came free. Better. Victor nodded. Again. They moved through basic escapes. Wrist grabs. Arm grabs. Someone coming from behind. Arya's muscles burned. Sweat soaked through her shirt. Dorian watched the entire time. Silent. Judging. After an hour, Victor called a break. Arya bent over, hands on her knees, breathing hard. Victor barely looked winded. You're out of shape, he observed. Thanks for noticing. We'll fix that. Starting tomorrow, you run with Dorian in the morning. Build endurance. Arya looked at Dorian. He met her gaze with those cold gray eyes. That wasn't a request, he said. Nothing here is, Arya shot back. Victor barked a laugh. She's got fire. Good. She'll need it. The break lasted 5 minutes. Then they were back at it. Victor taught her how to strike, where to aim, eyes, throat, groin, knees, the vulnerable spots. Forget fighting fair, he said. Fair gets you killed. You fight dirty. You fight to survive. He made her practice on a bag, over and over until her knuckles were raw. Harder, Victor demanded. I'm hitting as hard as I can. No, you're hitting as hard as you're comfortable with. That's different. He positioned himself behind the bag. Pretend I'm the man who tried to kill you. What would you do? No one's tried to kill me. Not yet. But Victor's eyes were serious. But they will, so hit the bag like your life depends on it. Arya thought about Marcus, about Claire, about being left at that altar in front of 200 people. She hit the bag so hard, pain shot up her arm. Good, Victor said. Again. By the time training ended at noon, Arya could barely stand. Every muscle screamed. Her hands shook. Victor handed her a water bottle. You did okay. For a beginner. That's high praise, Dorian said from the wall. She didn't quit. That's something. Victor looked at Arya. Same time tomorrow. Don't be late. He left. Arya sank onto the mat, drank half the water bottle in one go. Dorian walked over, looked down at her. You handled that better than I expected, he said. What did you expect? Me to cry and give up? Yes. Sorry to disappoint. You didn't. Something shifted in his expression. Get cleaned up. We have lunch at 1 with business associates. I can barely move. You'll manage. Dorian offered his hand. Arya stared at it, then took it. He pulled her to her feet easily, didn't let go right away. You're stronger than you think, he said quietly. You just haven't been tested yet. And you're testing me now? The world is testing you. I'm just preparing you for it. He released her hand and walked out. Arya stood in the empty gym, sweating and sore, and wondered what the hell she'd gotten herself into. The shower felt like heaven. Arya stood under hot water until her muscles loosened and the shaking stopped. Then she dried off and faced the closet. Lunch with business associates. She had no idea what that meant. She chose a navy dress, conservative but expensive looking, paired it with heels that weren't too high, applied minimal makeup because her hands were still shaking too much for anything complicated. When she came downstairs at 12:50, Dorian was waiting in the foyer. He'd changed into a dark gray suit. His eyes traveled over her, assessing again. Acceptable, he said. Your compliments are overwhelming. His mouth twitched, almost a smile. The car is waiting. The same black car from yesterday, same driver. Arya got in without being told. Dorian slid in beside her. A few rules for lunch. Of course there are rules. Listen anyway. His voice was firm. You don't speak unless spoken to directly. You smile. You're polite. You don't ask questions about business. If someone asks you a personal question, keep the answer vague. So I'm a decoration. You're my wife. That role comes with expectations. Dorian looked at his phone. These men are dangerous. They're looking for weakness. Any sign that our marriage isn't solid, they'll exploit it. How am I supposed to pretend we're solid when we barely know each other? You're an intelligent woman. You'll figure it out. He put his phone away. And Arya? What? Whatever happens, don't show fear. The restaurant was the kind of place that didn't have prices on the menu. Private room, 1 table, 4 men already seated. They all stood when Dorian and Arya entered. Dorian, one of them said. Older man, silver hair, expensive suit, Italian accent. We were beginning to wonder if you'd forgotten us. Never, Marco. Dorian's hand found the small of Arya's back, guided her forward. Gentlemen, my wife, Arya. 4 pairs of eyes locked onto her. Arya kept her spine straight, smiled, didn't let her hand shake. Mrs. Volkov, Marco said. He took her hand, kissed it. His lips were dry. A pleasure. The pleasure is mine, Arya said. The words felt foreign. The other men introduced themselves. Roberto, Dmitri, Chen, names that probably weren't real, faces that had seen violence and caused more. They sat. Arya between Dorian and Marco. Food appeared. Wine. Conversation flowed around her in multiple languages, sometimes English, sometimes Italian, sometimes Russian. Arya ate small bites, sipped wine, smiled when appropriate. Marco leaned close. You're very quiet, Mrs. Volkov. I'm a good listener, Arya said. Beautiful and wise. Marco's smile didn't reach his eyes. Dorian is a lucky man. I'm the lucky one, Arya said smoothly. Across the table, Dorian's expression stayed neutral, but his hand found hers under the table. Squeezed once. Warning or approval, Arya couldn't tell. Tell me, Marco continued, how did you and Dorian meet? The wedding was quite sudden. Sometimes you just know, Arya said. When it's right, why wait? Indeed. Marco's eyes were sharp. Though I heard there was another groom, one who failed to appear. The table went quiet. Arya's heart hammered, but she kept her smile in place. There was, she said, but he wasn't the right man. Dorian is. She turned to look at Dorian, met those gray eyes, forced warmth into her expression. Isn't that right? She asked softly. Dorian's hand tightened on hers. Exactly right. He leaned in, kissed her. It wasn't the brutal claim Arya expected. It was controlled, measured, just enough to sell the performance. When he pulled back, Marco was smiling. Young love, he said. Beautiful thing. The conversation moved on. Business talk that went over Arya's head. Numbers, territories, things she didn't want to understand. She ate, drank, played her role. By the time lunch ended 2 hours later, her face hurt from smiling. They said their goodbyes, promises to meet again, hollow pleasantries. In the car, Dorian was silent for 3 blocks. Then, you did well. I smiled and kept my mouth shut. Exactly. He looked at her. Marco was testing you, looking for cracks. You didn't give him any. What would have happened if I did? He would have reported back to his associates that our marriage is weak, that I'm vulnerable. Dorian's voice was flat. Then they would have moved against me. And me? You would have become a liability. Arya's blood ran cold. What does that mean? It means you did well, Dorian said. Don't worry about the rest. But Arya did worry for the rest of the drive home, through the afternoon, through dinner, which was another silent affair. That night, she lay in bed and stared at the ceiling again. This was her life now, training, performances, pretending to be someone she wasn't, for 6 months. She could do 6 months. She had to. The next morning, Dorian knocked on her door at 5:45. Up, he said through the door. We run in 15 minutes. Arya dragged herself out of bed. Every muscle from yesterday's training screamed in protest. She dressed in running clothes, stumbled downstairs. Dorian waited by the front door. He looked alert, energized. Arya felt like death. Keep up, he said, and took off. The grounds were massive. 3 miles turned out to be an understatement. They ran through gardens, past fountains, along paths Arya hadn't known existed. Dorian didn't slow down. Arya's lungs burned. Her legs felt like lead. I can't, she gasped. You can. Dorian didn't even sound winded. Mind over matter. Easy for you to say. Nothing about this is easy. That's the point. They ran until Arya thought she'd collapse. Then Dorian finally slowed to a walk. Cool down, he said. Then breakfast. Then Victor. You're trying to kill me. If I wanted you dead, you'd be dead. He looked at her. I'm trying to make you stronger. Why? Because weak things break. Dorian started walking toward the house. And I don't collect broken things. Victor worked her even harder than the day before. New techniques, harder drills. Your reaction time is slow, he observed. We need to fix that. He threw a tennis ball at her head. Arya barely dodged. Too slow. Again. He threw another. This time it hit her shoulder. Faster. They did this for 20 minutes. By the end, Arya was catching more than she missed. Better, Victor said. Now we add variables. He turned off the lights. The gym went dark. Only emergency lighting remained. Most attacks happen in poor visibility, Victor said from somewhere in the darkness. You need to use more than your eyes. Something moved behind her. Arya spun. Victor was already there. His hand stopped an inch from her throat. Dead, he said. Again. They practiced in the dark until Arya's nerves were raw. Every shadow became a threat. Every sound made her jump. But slowly, something shifted. Her body started anticipating, reading the subtle signs, the displacement of air, the sound of breathing. She caught Victor's wrist before he could complete a strike. Good, he said. The lights came back on. You're learning. Arya was shaking, but she was also smiling. Again, she said. Victor's eyebrows rose. Then he grinned. Again. Days blurred together. Morning runs with Dorian. Training with Victor. Afternoons spent learning the social performance, how to dress, how to speak, how to navigate the dangerous world Dorian inhabited. Mrs. Chen taught her which wines to order, which topics to avoid, how to read a room for threats. Always know where the exits are, Mrs. Chen said. Always sit where you can see the door. You sound like you have experience, Arya said. Mrs. Chen's expression closed. Everyone who works for Mr. Volkov has experience. At night, Arya fell into bed exhausted. But the sleep was deeper, dreamless. A week passed. Then 2. Arya's body changed. Muscles appeared where there had been softness. Her hands developed calluses. Her reaction time improved. More importantly, something inside her changed. The fear didn't disappear, but it transformed into something sharper, more focused. She stopped flinching when Victor attacked, started anticipating instead. She kept up with Dorian on the morning runs, sometimes even pushed the pace. At the business dinners, she learned to read the undercurrents, who held power, who was pretending, who was dangerous. Dorian noticed. You're adapting faster than I expected, he said one evening after another successful dinner. Maybe I'm more adaptable than you thought. Maybe. He poured wine. They'd started having these conversations after dinner, not quite companionable, but not hostile either. Or maybe you're finally accepting reality. What reality is that? That this is your life now. You can fight it or use it. Dorian handed her a glass. You're choosing to use it. Is that approval I hear? It's acknowledgement. He sat across from her in the library. It had become their space somehow. You're not the same woman I married 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks feels like 3 years. It gets easier. Does it? Arya sipped her wine. Or do you just get numb? Both. Dorian was quiet for a moment. You asked me once why I chose you, the real reason. You said I pushed back. That's part of it. He swirled his wine. But the main reason is that I saw potential. Most people fold under pressure. They break or they run. You're doing neither. Maybe I'm just good at pretending. No, you're good at surviving. Dorian's eyes met hers. That's rare. Something hung in the air between them. Not quite trust, but something adjacent to it. The moment broke when Dorian's phone rang. He answered, listened. His expression went dark. When? He asked. How many? Arya's stomach nodded. Understood. Increase security. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up. Looked at Arya. We have a situation. What kind of situation? The kind that requires me to leave. Victor will stay here with additional guards. You don't leave the property. You don't answer the door. You stay in the safe room until I return. Safe room? Dorian stood, walked to the bookshelf, pressed something. A section of the wall slid open. Behind it was a reinforced door, steel, heavy locks. Inside is food, water, medical supplies, weapons, and a secure line to my phone. Dorian pulled her to her feet. If something goes wrong, you get in there. You lock it. You don't come out until I personally come get you. Dorian, what's happening? Someone made a move against one of my businesses. That means they might make a move here. His hands gripped her shoulders. This is what I meant about being a target. Do you understand now? Arya's heart hammered. Yes. Good. He let her go, started toward the door, stopped. Arya? Yeah? Don't do anything stupid. Then he was gone. Arya stood alone in the library, staring at the open safe room. Victor appeared in the doorway minutes later. Come with me. He led her to a room she'd never seen. Security monitors covered one wall, showing every angle of the property. You watch, Victor said. You see anything unusual? You tell me immediately. What am I looking for? Anything that doesn't belong. Arya sat, stared at screens showing empty grounds, dark gardens, the front gate. Nothing moved. An hour passed, then 2. Arya's eyes burned, but she kept watching. At 3 a.m., something changed. A shadow moved near the east wall. Too big to be an animal, too deliberate to be random. "Victor," Arya said quietly. He was beside her instantly. "Where?" Arya pointed. Victor's jaw tightened. He spoke into his radio. Russian words Arya didn't understand. On the monitors, guards moved, converging on the east wall. The shadow disappeared. "Did they get him?" Arya asked. "We'll see." Victor's hand rested on his weapon. "Stay here. Lock the door behind me. Don't open it for anyone except me or Dorian. Victor, lock the door." He left. Arya locked the door with shaking hands, went back to the monitors. The guards searched the east wall, flashlights cutting through darkness. They found nothing. But Arya kept watching, because something felt wrong. Then she saw it. Different camera. The garden on the west side. Another shadow, this one moving toward the house. The east wall had been a distraction. Arya grabbed the radio Victor had left. "West garden. Someone's coming from the west." Static. Then Victor's voice. "How many?" "I see one, but..." Glass shattered somewhere in the house. Arya's blood turned to ice. "Get to the safe room," Victor's voice crackled. "Now!" Arya ran, through the security room, down the hall toward the library. A figure stepped into her path. Not Victor, not Dorian, not anyone she recognized. The man wore black, mask covering his face, weapon in his hand. Arya's training kicked in before her brain caught up. She dropped low, swept his legs like Victor had taught her. The man stumbled, didn't fall. Arya ran. Behind her, footsteps. Fast. Getting closer. She hit the library, dove through the open safe room door, slammed it shut. The locks engaged with heavy clicks, fists pounded on the other side. Then gunshots. The bullets didn't penetrate. Arya backed away from the door, found the weapons cabinet Victor had shown her during a tour, grabbed a handgun. Her hand shook so hard she almost dropped it. She'd never fired a gun. Victor hadn't gotten to that part of training yet. More pounding, then silence. Arya pressed her back against the far wall, aimed at the door, waited. Minutes crawled by, each one lasting forever. Then her phone rang, the secure line. She answered. "Dorian? Are you in the safe room?" His voice was tight. "Yes, someone got in the house. I couldn't..." "You did exactly right. Stay there. I'm 10 minutes out." Victor is handling it. Stay on the line with me." Arya sank to the floor, gun still trained on the door, phone pressed to her ear. Dorian didn't hang up, didn't say much. Just stayed there, a connection to something solid while her world fell apart. She heard sounds through the door, shouts, more gunshots. Then silence. "Dorian," she whispered, "I'm pulling up now. 30 seconds. Arya heard a car, doors slamming, Dorian's voice shouting orders, then a knock on the safe room door. "Arya, it's me. Open up." She recognized his voice, but fear made her hesitate. "Arya," softer this time. "I'm alone. It's safe. Open the door." She stood on shaking legs, approached the door, unlocked it. Dorian stood on the other side, jacket gone, shirt torn, blood on his knuckles. He looked her over, saw the gun. "You okay?" "I think so." "Give me the gun." Arya handed it over. Her hands were still shaking. Dorian set it aside, then pulled her against him. Arya went rigid, then slowly relaxed into the embrace. He was solid, real, alive. "You did good," he said quietly. "You got yourself safe. That's what matters." "Did you get him? The one in the house?" "Victor got him. He's dead." Arya should have felt something about that. Horror, maybe. Fear. Instead, she just felt relief. "Was this because of me?" she asked. "Because you married me?" "No." Dorian pulled back, looked at her seriously. "This was because Marco wanted to test our defenses. See if the marriage made me careless. It didn't. But I could have died. Yes. He didn't lie about it. But you didn't, because you were prepared." Arya started laughing. It came out half hysterical. "I've been married 3 weeks, and someone already tried to kill me." Welcome to my world. Dorian's mouth twitched. Still want that divorce in 6 months? Arya thought about it. Really thought about it. 3 weeks ago, she would have said yes. Would have counted down the days. But something had shifted. In the training, in the dinners, in moments like this where Dorian was honest instead of cold. Ask me again in 5 months, she said finally. Dorian's expression softened, just slightly. Fair enough. He led her out of the safe room. The library was a mess. Bullet holes in the walls, broken glass. In the hallway, guards cleaned up. Victor stood among them, barking orders. He saw Arya, nodded once. She nodded back. Get some rest, Dorian said. Tomorrow we increase your training. More than we already have? Someone got close enough to make you run. That can't happen again. Arya was too tired to argue. She went upstairs, showered, crawled into bed as the sun started rising. Before she fell asleep, she looked at the ring on her finger, the heavy diamond that marked her as Dorian's wife. 3 weeks ago, it felt like a chain. Now it felt like armor. The nightmares started that night. Arya woke at 3 in the afternoon, drenched in sweat. The image of the masked man burned into her brain. Her hands still shook. She pressed them flat against the mattress and focused on breathing. In, out, like Victor taught her. When her heart rate finally slowed, she got up, showered again. The water didn't wash away the feeling of being hunted. Downstairs, the library had already been repaired. New drywall, fresh paint, like nothing had happened. But the bullet holes were still there in Arya's mind. Mrs. Chen found her standing in the doorway, staring at the spot where the safe room entrance was hidden. Mr. Volkov is in a meeting, Mrs. Chen said quietly. He asked me to tell you that training is postponed until tomorrow. You should rest. I can't rest. Then eat. You haven't eaten since yesterday morning. Arya hadn't even thought about food. But now that Mrs. Chen mentioned it, her stomach felt hollow. They went to the kitchen. Mrs. Chen made soup. Something warm and simple that Arya's hands could hold without spilling. How long have you been dealing with this? Arya asked. The attacks, the danger. Mrs. Chen stirred her own bowl. 12 years, like I said. And you stay because? Because Mr. Volkov saved my life. Mrs. Chen's voice was matter-of-fact. My husband owed money to very bad people. They came for payment. Mr. Volkov intervened, cleared the debt, gave me a job, a safe place. What happened to your husband? He left. Found another woman who didn't remind him of his failures. Mrs. Chen's expression didn't change. I stayed. This house is safer than anywhere else I could go. Arya absorbed that. Does it get easier, being afraid? No, you just get better at functioning through it. They ate in silence. When Arya finished, Mrs. Chen took her bowl. Victor wants to see you in the West Gym. I thought training was postponed. He didn't say training. He said see you. Arya found Victor in the weight room, putting equipment away. He looked up when she entered. You did good last night, he said. I ran and hid. You survived. That's the point. Victor set down a dumbbell. The leg sweep was smart. Bought you time. I didn't think. I just reacted. Good. Thinking gets you killed. Training makes reaction automatic. He gestured to a bench. Sit. Arya sat. Victor pulled up a chair across from her. For the first time since they'd met, he didn't look like an instructor. He looked tired. The man who got in, Victor said. He was a professional, former military. Marco sent him specifically to test you. Test me how? To see if you'd panic, if you'd freeze, if you'd be easy to use as leverage against Dorian. Victor's eyes were serious. You weren't. That matters. I got lucky. Luck is just preparation meeting opportunity. You were prepared. I made sure of that. He leaned forward. But we need to do more, faster. Dorian said the same thing. Because he's right. Marco failed this time. Next time he'll send someone better. Or he'll try a different approach. Victor pulled out a handgun, checked it, set it on the table between them. You need to learn to use this. Arya stared at the weapon. Black metal. Compact. Deadly. I've never shot a gun, she said. I know. That changes today. They spent the next 3 hours in the underground range Arya didn't know existed. Victor taught her the basics: stance, grip, sight alignment, trigger control. The first shot made Arya jump. The recoil surprised her. The noise, even with ear protection, made her nerves scream. Again, Victor said. By the 100th round, her ears rang and her hands ached, but she could hit the target. Not perfectly, but enough. Better, Victor said. Tomorrow we do it under stress. Moving targets. Poor lighting. Distractions. There's always more, isn't there? Always. Welcome to survival. That night Dorian came to her room. He knocked first, waited for her to answer. Arya opened the door in pajamas, hair wet from another shower. Can't sleep? He asked. Not really. Neither can I. He gestured down the hall. Walk with me. They walked through the dark house. Dorian didn't turn on lights. They moved through shadows like ghosts. I wanted to apologize, he said finally. That surprised her. For what? For underestimating how quickly Marco would move. I should have increased security sooner. Dorian's jaw was tight. You could have died because of my miscalculation. But I didn't. This time. He stopped at a window overlooking the gardens. There will be a next time, Arya. And a time after that. This life doesn't stop being dangerous just because you get good at navigating it. I know. Do you? He turned to face her. Because you can still walk away. I meant what I said about the 6 months. But if you want out now, I'll arrange it. Your family keeps the money. You get a new identity, a fresh start somewhere Marco and his friends will never find you. Arya thought about it, really thought about it. And you? She asked. What happens to you if I leave? I deal with Marco, find another way to secure the shipping routes, move forward. Alone. I've always been alone. Dorian said it simply, like it was a fact of nature. That sounds lonely. It's safe. Caring about people makes you vulnerable. Arya looked at him. Really looked. Past the expensive clothes and cold demeanor. She saw exhaustion there, the kind that came from years of watching your back. I'm not leaving, she said. You should. Probably, but I'm not. Arya crossed her arms. You said I'm adapting. You're right, and part of adapting means finishing what I started. This isn't a project you can complete. No, it's a life I'm building. Might as well build it properly. Something shifted in Dorian's expression. Not quite a smile, but close. You're either very brave or very stupid, he said. Can't it be both? This time he did smile. Small, but real. Get some sleep, he said. Tomorrow we have the Marchetti Gala. High profile. Dangerous in different ways than last night. More performances? The most important one yet. Dorian started walking back toward the bedrooms. Wear something that makes a statement. What kind of statement? That you're not afraid. He left her standing in the hallway, wondering how you wore bravery. The next day passed in preparation. Mrs. Chen brought in a stylist, a woman named Simone, who looked at Arya like she was a blank canvas. Mr. Volkov says you need to make an impression, Simone said. Let me work. 3 hours later, Arya barely recognized herself in the mirror. The dress was deep red, almost burgundy. It hugged every curve she'd developed from weeks of training. The neckline was modest, but the back was completely open. Elegant and dangerous at the same time. Her hair was pulled back in a way that showed her face clearly. No hiding. Makeup was dramatic, dark eyes, red lips. She looked older, harder, like someone who could stand next to Dorian and not disappear. Perfect, Simone said. You look like you could kill a man and not break a sweat. Is that a compliment? In this world? Absolutely. Dorian was waiting at the bottom of the stairs when Arya came down. He wore a black tuxedo, classic, powerful. His eyes traveled over her slowly. For the first time, Arya saw genuine appreciation there. Red suits you, he said. Simone's choice. Simone has good instincts. He offered his arm. Ready? As I'll ever be. The gala was at the Ashford Hotel, the entire top floor. Arya had been to the Ashford once before, for a friend's wedding reception. That had been in a small conference room. This was the ballroom, Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, windows overlooking the city skyline. And people. Hundreds of them. All dressed like they owned the world. Many of them probably did. Dorian's hand stayed on the small of Arya's back as they entered. Possessive, protective. People noticed. Whispers followed them through the crowd. "Ignore them," Dorian murmured. "Hard to ignore when everyone's staring. They're not staring at you. They're staring at us, together. That's what matters." He led her to the bar, ordered champagne for her, whiskey for himself. "Dorian." A man approached, tall, handsome in a polished way that seemed fake. "I heard congratulations are in order." "Thomas." Dorian's voice was neutral. "This is my wife, Arya." Thomas took her hand, kissed it. His lips lingered too long. "A pleasure," he said. "I must say, when I heard Dorian got married, I assumed it was a business arrangement. But seeing you, I understand the appeal." "How kind," Arya said. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Thomas runs the West Side ports," Dorian said. "We have occasional business together." "Occasional?" Thomas laughed. "That's diplomatic. We compete for the same contracts, Dorian. No need to pretend otherwise in front of your wife." "My wife knows exactly what I do." "Does she?" Thomas's eyes were sharp. "Does she know about the shipment last week? The one that disappeared from my warehouse?" "I know nothing about your security problems." Dorian's voice went cold. "Perhaps you should hire better people." Thomas's smile stayed in place, but his eyes hardened. "Perhaps." He walked away. "Friend of yours?" Arya asked. "Enemy, but a smart one. He makes moves carefully." "Did you steal his shipment?" "Yes." At least he was honest. More people approached through the evening, more pleasantries that hid threats, more smiles that didn't mean friendship. Arya played her part, smiled, made small talk, laughed at jokes that weren't funny. Her feet hurt in the expensive heels. Her face hurt from smiling. Around midnight, Dorian excused them to the balcony. The night air was cool, welcome after the stuffy ballroom. "You're doing well," Dorian said. "I'm exhausted." "That's normal." He loosened his tie slightly. "These events are performances, exhausting by design. How often do you have to do this? Once or twice a month? Sometimes more if there's a situation that requires FaceTime." Arya leaned against the railing, looked out at the city. From up here, it looked peaceful. Beautiful, even. She knew better now. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "You can ask. I might not answer." "Why did you really save me at the church?" "The real reason." Dorian was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Because I saw someone standing at the worst moment of her life, and instead of breaking, you were calculating, looking for options. Your eyes were doing math even while your world collapsed." "Math?" "Survival math. Cost versus benefit. Risk versus reward." He turned to look at her. "I do the same thing. Every day. Every decision. It's exhausting, but it keeps you alive. And you wanted someone who understood that." I wanted someone who wouldn't shatter the first time things got hard. Most people do." His voice was quiet. "My first wife did." Arya blinked. "You were married before?" 7 years ago. Arranged marriage, like ours. She lasted 3 months before she couldn't handle it anymore. Took sleeping pills. Didn't wake up." The words hit Arya like a punch. "I'm sorry," she said. "Don't be. It was a long time ago. And it taught me something important." "What?" "That forcing someone into this life is cruel, which is why I gave you the choice. Why I keep giving you the choice." Dorian's eyes met hers. "You can leave, Arya, anytime. I mean that." "I know you do." Arya took a breath. "But I'm still here." "Why?" "Good question." Arya wasn't entirely sure herself. "Because for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm becoming someone real," she said slowly. "Not the good daughter, not the perfect fiancée, not the woman who does what she's told and smiles through it, someone who fights back. That's dangerous thinking." "Good thing I'm learning to handle dangerous." Dorian almost smiled. Then his phone buzzed. He looked at it. His expression went dark. "We need to leave. Now." "What's wrong?" "Victor just intercepted a credible threat. Someone here tonight is planning to make a move." He took her arm. guided her back inside. We're going out the service entrance. They moved quickly through the crowd. Not running. That would draw attention, but purposeful. Dorian's hand stayed on her back, protective. They made it to the service hallway. Victor was waiting with 2 guards. Car's out back, Victor said. We go fast. Stay between us. They moved down the hallway, through the kitchen. Staff pressed back against the walls, giving them space, almost to the exit. Then the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, dim, red. Move, Victor barked. They ran. Behind them, gunfire, screams from the ballroom. Victor shoved open the exit door. The car was running, door open. Get in, Dorian ordered. Arya got in. Dorian followed. Victor and 1 guard took the front. The other guard stayed behind. The car tore out of the alley. What happened? Arya asked. Her heart hammered. Thomas made his move, Dorian said. His voice was tight with fury. Use the gala as cover. He wanted chaos. A message. Did anyone? We'll find out. Right now we focus on getting home. The drive was fast, reckless. They ran red lights. The driver didn't slow down. Halfway home, another car pulled up beside them. We got company, the driver said. Victor looked back. Rom them. What? Arya said. The driver didn't hesitate. Swerved into the other car. Metal screamed. Glass shattered. The other car spun out, hit a light pole. They kept going. Arya's hands shook. She pressed them together. Controlled her breathing. Fear later. Survival now. Like Victor taught her. They made it home. The gates closed behind them with a final clang. Inside, Dorian immediately went to his office. Started making calls. Arya stood in the foyer, still in her red dress, and realized something. She wasn't crying, wasn't falling apart. She was angry. Mrs. Chen appeared. You should change. Get comfortable. I don't want to get comfortable. I want to know what's happening. Mr. Volkov will tell you when he knows. No, Arya's voice was firm. I'm his wife. I have a right to know. Now. Mrs. Chen studied her, then nodded slowly. The office is down the hall, 3rd door on the left. Arya walked down the hall, knocked once, didn't wait for an answer. Dorian was on the phone. He looked up, surprised to see her. I'll call you back, he said into the phone. Hung up. Arya, what happened? How many people were hurt? 4 injured, none dead. Thomas's men grabbed a shipment from one of my suppliers during the chaos. Clean operation. And we can't do anything about it? We can, and we will. Dorian's voice was ice. But not tonight. Tonight we regroup. When? Soon. He stood, walked around the desk. You should be resting, processing, not standing here demanding briefings. I'm tired of being protected like I'm fragile. I'm not. I know you're not. Then stop treating me like I am. Arya's hands clenched. You said I'm your wife, your partner. Then treat me like one. Tell me what's happening. Let me help. Help how? Good question. Arya didn't have an answer. Dorian saw her frustration. His expression softened slightly. You want to help? He asked. Then get stronger. Keep training. Learn everything Victor and I can teach you. Because the best help you can give me is being able to protect yourself when I can't be there. It wasn't the answer Arya wanted, but it was honest. Fine, she said. Then tomorrow, we train harder. Tomorrow, you rest. Dorian, that's not a suggestion. You've been going nonstop for weeks. Even soldiers need recovery time. He moved closer, put his hands on her shoulders. You proved yourself tonight. You didn't panic. You moved when told. You survived. That's enough for now. His hands were warm through the thin fabric of her dress. Steady. Arya realized how close they were standing, how she could see flecks of darker gray in his eyes. Okay, she said quietly. One day, then back to training. Deal. He didn't move away, neither did she. You look good in red, he said. I meant to tell you earlier. You did tell me earlier. Worth saying twice. Something hung between them, different from before, warmer. Dorian's phone rang again. The moment broke. He stepped back, answered. What? His expression went from neutral to shocked to furious in seconds. When? He demanded. How did they get that information? Arya's stomach knotted. Dorian listened. His jaw worked. Understood. Increase security at all properties. I want eyes on everyone who attended tonight. Everyone. He hung up. What? Arya asked. Thomas didn't just hit the shipment. Dorian's voice was quiet, dangerous. He leaked information to a federal task force. They're opening an investigation into my businesses. All of them. Can they? They won't find anything. I'm careful. But it ties up resources, puts pressure on my partners, makes everyone nervous. He looked at her. Thomas is escalating. This is war. What do? We fight back. Dorian pulled out his phone again, started typing. I'm calling a meeting. All my senior people, tomorrow night. I thought I was resting tomorrow. You are. This meeting doesn't involve you. Like hell it doesn't. Arya's voice was sharp. You just said this is war. Wars need everyone involved. I'm involved whether you like it or not. Dorian looked at her, really looked. You want in? He asked. Really in. Not just the performances and the pretty dresses, the actual business, the decisions, the risk. Yes. You understand what that means? Once you're in, you're in. No going back, no claiming innocence later. I understand. He studied her face, looking for doubt, hesitation. He wouldn't find any. Arya was done being protected. Fine, Dorian said finally. Tomorrow night. The meeting. You sit in. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You might hate what you see. Arya thought about the gunfire, the chase, the constant fear. I've seen plenty already, she said. I'm still here. Dorian's expression shifted, something like respect. Yes, he said quietly. You are. That night, Arya lay in bed and thought about everything that had changed. 6 weeks ago, she was planning a wedding to a man she barely knew but thought was safe. Now she was married to a man who was anything but safe, and she was choosing to go deeper instead of running away. Her phone buzzed, a text from Jessica. Are you okay? I saw news about the gala. Please tell me you weren't there. Arya stared at the message. Jessica. Her best friend. The life she used to have. That felt like a different person. She typed back, I'm fine. Can't talk now. I'll call you soon. A lie. She probably wouldn't call. What would she say? That she was learning to shoot guns and navigate criminal politics? That she'd almost died twice and was somehow still standing? Jessica wouldn't understand. Nobody from her old life would. Arya deleted the message thread. Put her phone on the nightstand. When she finally fell asleep, she didn't dream about being hunted. She dreamed about hunting back. The next evening, Arya dressed carefully. Not a dress this time. Black pants, silk blouse. Heels that were comfortable enough to run in if needed. She looked professional, put together, like someone who belonged in a boardroom even if that boardroom discussed illegal activities. Dorian was already in the conference room when she arrived, along with 6 men she'd never met. They all looked up when she entered, assessment in their eyes. Gentlemen, Dorian said, my wife Arya. She'll be observing tonight. Observing? One of the men spoke, older, gray beard, skeptical eyes. Since when do we have observers? Since I said so, Roman. Dorian's voice left no room for argument. Arya is my wife. What affects me affects her. She has a right to know. Roman didn't look happy, but he didn't argue. Arya sat in the empty chair beside Dorian, kept her spine straight, her expression neutral. Now, Dorian said, let's talk about Thomas. For the next 2 hours, Arya listened to the kind of conversation that would make lawyers salivate. Shipments, routes, payoffs, eliminations. They spoke in code sometimes, but Arya was smart enough to fill in the blanks. Roman wanted aggressive retaliation. Hit Thomas's warehouses. Take out his key people. Another man, younger, wanted subtlety. Undermine Thomas's relationships. Make his partners nervous. A third suggested going after Thomas's family. Make it personal. Dorian listened to all of it. His face gave nothing away. When everyone had spoken, he turned to Arya. You've been quiet, he said. What do you think? The room went silent. 6 pairs of eyes locked on her. Arya's heart hammered, but she kept her voice steady. "I think you're all focused on the wrong thing," she said. "Explain," Dorian said. "Thomas didn't hit you because he's strong. He hit you because he's desperate. The federal investigation gives him cover, but it also shows he's running scared. Strong people don't need the feds. They handle things themselves." Roman snorted. "And what would you know about strength?" "I know that being underestimated is an advantage." Arya looked directly at him. "Thomas thinks Dorian's vulnerable because of me. Because a wife is a weakness. Prove him wrong. Use me." "Use you how?" Dorian asked. His voice was careful. "I don't know. I'm not the strategist. But there has to be a way to turn his assumption into his mistake." The room was quiet. Then the younger man laughed. "She's got a point. Thomas is old school. He thinks women are decoration. We make her visible, make her important. It'll eat at him. Or it puts a bigger target on her," Roman said. "The target's already there," Arya said. "Might as well make it useful." Dorian studied her, then nodded slowly. "We'll consider it," he said. "For now, we proceed carefully. Roman, I want surveillance on all of Thomas's properties. Marcus, work your contacts in the police department. Find out what they actually have versus what they're fishing for. Alex, secure our supply lines. Make sure nothing else goes missing." Orders were given, plans were made. An hour later, the meeting ended. The men filed out. Roman paused by Arya's chair. "You've got spine. I'll give you that. Is that a compliment? From me?" "Yeah." He left. Alone with Dorian, Arya finally let herself relax. "That was intense," she said. "That was a normal Tuesday." Dorian leaned back in his chair. "You did well, spoke up, held your own." "Roman hates me." "Roman hates everyone, but he respects strength. You showed him strength. By suggesting you use me as bait? By showing you understand the game." Dorian's eyes were serious. "This is the real world, Arya. Not the training, not the performances. This is where decisions get made that affect lives. Are you sure you want to be part of it?" Arya thought about the question. Really thought. "Yes," she said finally. "I'm sure." Dorian nodded. "Then we move forward. Together. Together." The word felt different than it had 6 weeks ago. Then it had been a prison sentence. Now it felt like a partnership. Arya still wasn't sure she trusted Dorian completely. Wasn't sure she ever would. But she trusted that he needed her. And in this world, need was almost as good as trust. Almost. 3 weeks later, Arya found out she was pregnant. She stared at the test in the bathroom, hands shaking so hard she nearly dropped it. 2 lines. Clear as day. Unmistakable. Her mind went blank, then into overdrive. She and Dorian had been careful, mostly, except for that night 2 weeks ago when they'd both had too much wine after another tense meeting, when the space between them had finally collapsed and careful had gone out the window. They hadn't talked about it the next morning, just went back to their separate routines like nothing had changed. But something had changed. And now this. Arya wrapped the test in tissue, buried it deep in the trash. She needed time to think before she told anyone, especially Dorian. At breakfast, Mrs. Chen gave her a knowing look. "You've been tired lately," Mrs. Chen said, "and you barely touched dinner last night. I'm fine." Mrs. Chen poured coffee, then stopped. "Actually, would you prefer tea this morning?" The coffee smell hit Arya's stomach like a fist. She barely made it to the bathroom before throwing up. When she came back pale and shaking, Mrs. Chen had replaced the coffee with ginger tea. "How long have you known?" Arya asked quietly. 3 days. You stopped drinking wine. You've been nauseous in the mornings. You keep touching your stomach without realizing it." Mrs. Chen's voice was gentle. "Does Mr. Volkov know?" "No, and you can't tell him. Not yet. He'll notice soon enough. I know. I just need to figure out how to—" Arya stopped. "What am I supposed to do?" "Whatever you decide, but decide quickly. This world doesn't wait for anyone." Arya spent the day in a fog. Training with Victor felt mechanical. Her body went through the motions while her mind spun in circles. A baby. In this house, this life, this danger. It was insane. "You're distracted," Victor observed after she missed an easy block for the 3rd time. What's wrong? Nothing. Just tired. Tired gets you killed. Focus. But Arya couldn't focus. Her mind kept jumping to impossible questions. How do you raise a child in a world where people tried to kill you at galas? Where masked men broke into your house? Where every decision carried the weight of violence? By evening, she'd made no progress on answers, just more questions. Dorian found her in the library after dinner. She was staring at a book she wasn't reading. "You've been quiet today," he said. "Just thinking." "About?" Arya looked up at him, tried to find the words, failed. "About what happens next," she said finally. "With Thomas. With everything." Dorian sat across from her. "Marcus confirmed the federal investigation is mostly theater. They don't have enough to move forward." Thomas was hoping for more. So what's his next play?" "That's what concerns me. He's been too quiet. 3 weeks since the gala and nothing. No attacks, no moves." Dorian's jaw tightened. When an enemy goes quiet, they're planning something big. Or maybe you scared him off. Men like Thomas don't scare. They adapt. He studied her face. "Something else is bothering you. What is it?" Arya's hand moved to her stomach, caught herself, stopped. Dorian's eyes tracked the movement. His expression shifted. "Are you hurt?" he asked. "Did something happen in training?" "No, I'm fine." "You're lying." His voice was soft, careful. "Talk to me." Arya took a breath. There was no good time for this. Might as well be now. "I'm pregnant," she said. The words hung in the air between them. Dorian went completely still. His face showed nothing, gave away nothing. "How long have you known?" he asked finally. "Since this morning. Mrs. Chen suspected for a few days." "And you're certain?" 3 tests, all positive." Dorian stood, walked to the window, stared out at the dark gardens. Arya watched him, tried to read his reaction. Couldn't. "Say something," she said. "I'm thinking." "About what?" "About everything." He turned to face her. "A child changes the equation. Everything we've built. Every plan. Every risk calculation." "I know." "Do you want to keep it?" The question was clinical, practical. But underneath, Arya heard something else. Fear, maybe. Or hope. "I don't know," she said honestly. "I haven't had time to process, but I need to decide soon." "We need to decide." Dorian crossed back to her, sat on the edge of the coffee table so they were at eye level. "This affects both of us, both our futures." "What do you want?" "I want you safe. A pregnancy makes you vulnerable, targets you in new ways." His voice was tight. "But I also know that this might be the only chance either of us gets at something normal. Something real." "There's nothing normal about this situation." "No, but a child is still a child, innocent, untouched by all this." His hand reached out, hesitated, then settled on her stomach, warm through the fabric of her shirt. "Mine." The possessiveness in his voice should have annoyed Arya. Instead, it made her feel safe. "So what do we do?" she asked. "We prepare. If you want to keep it, we prepare. Increase security, adjust plans. Make sure you and the baby are protected at all costs. And if I don't want to keep it, then we handle that too, quietly, safely. Your choice." Arya looked at his hand on her stomach, at the careful way he held it there, like something precious. She thought about the last 3 months, the training, the fear, the slow transformation from helpless victim to someone who could fight back. She thought about the way Dorian looked at her now, not like property, like a partner. And she thought about the child growing inside her, a piece of both of them, a future that wasn't written yet. "I want to keep it," she said quietly. Dorian's eyes closed. When they opened again, something in them had changed. "Then we keep it," he said, "and we protect it with everything we have." He pulled her into his arms, held her tight. Arya let herself sink into the embrace, let herself feel safe for a moment. Then Dorian's phone rang. He checked it, swore under his breath. "What?" Thomas just made his move. Dorian was already standing, already in motion. "He took Marcus, grabbed him outside his apartment an hour ago." Arya's blood went cold. Marcus was Dorian's information man. The one who worked the police contacts. Why Marcus? Because he's the weakest link, the newest member of my inner circle. Dorian was making calls, rapid-fire instructions. Thomas will use him for information, then kill him as a message. Can we get him back? I'm working on it. He headed for the door, stopped, looked back at her. Stay here, Victor's on his way. Don't leave the property. Dorian, I mean it, Arya. You're carrying my child now. That makes you more valuable than any information Marcus might give up. Stay. Here. He left. Arya stood in the empty library, one hand on her stomach, and felt fear settle in her bones. Victor arrived 20 minutes later with 4 additional guards. Lockdown protocol, he said. No one in or out except Dorian. What's happening? War. Victor's expression was grim. Thomas took one of ours. Dorian's getting him back. It won't be quiet. They waited in the security room. Arya watched the monitors. Empty grounds, quiet streets beyond the gates. Too quiet. Something feels wrong, she said. Victor looked up. What? This is too easy. Thomas takes Marcus to draw Dorian out. But what if that's not the real play? What are you thinking? Arya's mind raced. What if Marcus was bait? Not for information, for movement. Get Dorian away from the house. Victor's eyes widened. To get to you. I'm the real target, the wife, the leverage. Arya's hand went to her stomach, especially now. How would Thomas know you're pregnant? Maybe he doesn't, but he knows I matter to Dorian. That's enough. Victor grabbed his radio. All units, possible secondary threat. Eyes open. Anything moves, you report it. They waited. Arya's nerves stretched tight. Every shadow on the monitors looked like a threat. Then Victor's phone rang. He answered, listened. His face went pale. Understood. He hung up, looked at Arya. We have a problem. The east perimeter sensors just went offline. How many? All of them. Whole section. That wasn't an accident. They're coming, Arya said. Get to the safe room. Now. No. Arya stood. Last time I hid and they still got close. This time we stopped them before they get inside. You're pregnant. You can't. I can and I will. Arya's voice was steel. Give me a weapon. Victor stared at her, then pulled a handgun from his belt, handed it over. Stay behind me. You shoot only if you have to. Understood? Understood. They moved through the dark house. 4 guards with them. Radio chatter confirmed the breach. Multiple targets. Coming from the east. How many? Victor asked into his radio. At least 6. Professional. Well armed. 6 against 6. Even odds if you didn't count Arya. But Arya was learning that numbers didn't tell the whole story. They took position in the main hallway. Good sight lines. Cover. Defensive advantage. The first window shattered at the back of the house. Here we go, Victor muttered. Gunfire erupted. The sound was deafening. Nothing like the controlled environment of Victor's range. Arya pressed against the wall, gun gripped in both hands, exactly like she'd been taught. A figure appeared at the end of the hall. Masked, armed. One of Victor's guards fired. The figure dropped. More came, moving fast, coordinated. These weren't the same kind of thugs from the first attack. These were professionals. Victor fired in controlled bursts. 2 more figures went down, but they kept coming. One made it close, too close, raised his weapon toward Arya. She didn't think, just reacted, fired twice, center mass, like Victor taught her. The man stumbled, fell. Arya stared at him, at what she'd done. Move! Victor grabbed her arm, pulled her back as return fire tore through the space where she'd been standing. They retreated, trading ground for time, fighting back toward the safe room. Arya's ears rang, her hands shook, but she kept moving, kept fighting. A guard went down, shot in the leg, screaming. Another guard pulled him to cover. 4 against 6 became 4 against 4. Then Victor's radio crackled. Boss, we got more coming. South side. At least 3 more. Fall back, Victor ordered. Get to the safe room. All of you. They ran. Bullets chased them. Wood splintered. Glass shattered. Arya's lungs burned. Her legs felt like lead. They made it to the library. Victor slammed the door. Locked it. Safe room. Now. Arya ran to the bookshelf. Hit the switch. The door opened. They piled inside. Victor last. He sealed the door just as something heavy slammed into the library door outside. They were safe. For now. Victor checked his radio. Dorian, we're in the safe room. Multiple hostiles, at least 9. We're secure but pinned. Static. Then Dorian's voice, tight with fury. On my way. 10 minutes. Hold them. Copy. 10 minutes. An eternity. Arya sank against the wall, looked at the gun in her hands, at the blood on her sleeve from the wounded guard. She'd shot someone. Maybe killed him. The thought should have horrified her. Instead, she just felt numb. You did good, Victor said quietly. Stayed calm, followed training. I killed someone. You defended yourself. There's a difference. Was there? Arya wasn't sure anymore. Outside the safe room, they heard footsteps, voices, someone trying the door, then an explosion. Not close, but big enough to rattle the walls. What was that? One of the guards asked. Victor's radio crackled again. They're trying to breach the front gate with explosives. Dorian's going to lose his mind, another guard muttered. The minutes crawled, each one feeling like an hour. Arya kept her hand on her stomach, protecting what was there even though there was nothing to protect yet. Just cells, potential, hope. Then gunfire outside, different than before, heavier, more concentrated. Victor's radio. Boss is here. He brought everyone. The sounds of battle intensified, then slowly died down. 5 minutes later, the safe room door opened. Dorian stood there, blood on his shirt, fury in his eyes. His gaze locked on Arya, scanned her, looking for injuries. Are you hurt? His voice was rough. No, the baby is fine. You're both fine. He pulled her out of the safe room, into his arms, held her so tight she could barely breathe. Around them, the house was a war zone. Bullet holes, shattered glass, blood. 7 bodies. All Thomas's men. Marcus? Arya asked. Safe. It was a trap. Exactly like you said. Dorian's jaw was tight. They used him to pull me away, then hit the house. Did they know about the baby? I don't know, but Thomas crossed a line tonight. You don't go after a man's family. Ever. The cold fury in his voice sent chills down Arya's spine. What are you going to do? End this, permanently. He released her, turned to Victor. Take her upstairs? Get her checked by the doctor. Make sure she and the baby are okay. Dorian, not now, Arya. His voice was gentle but firm. Let me handle this, please. She wanted to argue, to insist on being part of whatever came next, but exhaustion hit her like a wave. The adrenaline crash, the fear, the weight of everything. She let Victor guide her upstairs. A doctor was already waiting, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and efficient hands. She examined Arya carefully, checked vitals, did an ultrasound. Everything looks good, she said. Baby's heartbeat is strong, no signs of distress. But you need to rest. Real rest. This kind of stress isn't good for either of you. Rest, Arya repeated. The word felt foreign. The doctor left. Victor stayed outside her door. Arya lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. Again, like she had that first night. So much had changed since then. She'd changed. The woman who stood at that altar 3 months ago wouldn't have fired a gun, wouldn't have stayed calm under attack, wouldn't have survived this. But Arya had survived, was still surviving. She put her hand on her stomach, felt nothing yet. Too early. But she knew something was there. Someone was there. Her child. Dorian's child. A baby being born into violence and danger in a world that didn't forgive weakness. The door opened quietly. Dorian slipped inside. He looked exhausted. The fury had burned down to something colder, more dangerous. Is it done? Arya asked. It started. He sat on the edge of the bed. I'm calling in every favor, every alliance. Thomas wanted war. He's going to get it. When? Tomorrow night. There's a meeting, neutral ground, all the major players. Dorian's voice was flat. I'm going to offer Thomas a choice. Back down or die. He won't back down. I know. Dorian looked at her. Which is why I need you to do something for me. What? Leave. Tonight. Victor will take you somewhere safe, out of the city, maybe out of the country. You and the baby stay hidden until this is over. No. Arya, no. She sat up. I'm not running. Not now. Not after everything. This isn't about bravery. It's about survival. Thomas knows about you now. Really knows. He'll come after you to hurt me. I can't fight him and protect you at the same time. Then don't protect me. Teach me to protect myself. Arya's voice was fierce. You said I'm your partner, your wife. Then let me stand beside you, not hide while you fight. You're pregnant. I'm aware. That doesn't make me helpless. Dorian's hands clenched. If something happens to you, to the baby, I can't. Nothing will happen because we're both stronger than Thomas thinks. Arya took his hand, placed it on her stomach. This baby needs both parents, which means you need to win. And you'll win faster if you're not divided between fighting and worrying about me. You're asking me to risk everything. I'm asking you to trust me. They stared at each other, the weight of the decision hanging between them. Finally, Dorian nodded. Okay, but you follow every order. You stay where Victor puts you. And if things go wrong, you run. No hesitation, no heroics. You run and you protect our child. Agreed? Agreed. He leaned forward, kissed her forehead. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be hell. He stood to leave. Dorian? Arya said. Yeah? Come back alive. His expression softened. I plan to. He left. The door closed softly. Arya lay back down, one hand on her stomach, the other reaching for the gun Victor had left on her nightstand. Tomorrow would be hell, but she'd survived hell before. She could do it again. The next day passed in tense preparation. Arya trained with Victor despite the doctor's protests. Light work, basics, enough to keep her sharp without risking the pregnancy. Dorian was in meetings all day. Phone calls, strategy sessions, preparing for war. By evening, the house hummed with nervous energy. Guards everywhere, weapons being checked, routes being planned. Arya dressed carefully. Black pants, black shirt, flat shoes she could run in, hair pulled back, no jewelry except her wedding ring, war clothes. Dorian found her in the bedroom. He wore all black too. Looked like death in expensive fabric. You sure about this? He asked. No, but I'm doing it anyway. That's my girl. He handed her a vest. Bulletproof, lightweight. Wear this. Non-negotiable. Arya put it on. It fit snugly over her shirt. Where exactly am I going to be during this meeting? She asked. In the car, with Victor, outside. If things go bad inside, you drive away. Victor knows the route. And if things go bad outside, then Victor gets you out, however he has to. It wasn't a perfect plan, but nothing about this was perfect. They went downstairs together. The others were waiting, Roman, Alex. 6 more men Arya recognized from various meetings. Everyone armed, everyone ready. Let's go, Dorian said. The drive took 30 minutes, to a warehouse district on the east side. Abandoned buildings, no witnesses, perfect place for violence. They pulled up to a large warehouse, lights on inside, other cars already there. Thomas's people. Stay here, Dorian said to Arya. No matter what you hear, you stay in this car. Okay. He kissed her, hard, possessive, a promise and a goodbye all at once. Then he and the others got out, walked toward the warehouse. Arya watched them go, her heart in her throat. Victor stayed in the driver's seat, 2 more guards in another car behind them. How long do these things usually take? Arya asked. Depends. Could be 10 minutes, could be an hour. Victor's eyes scanned the area. Negotiations are delicate. And if they're not negotiating, then we'll hear gunshots. Helpful. They waited. Arya counted her heartbeats, tried to stay calm. Inside the warehouse, she imagined Dorian facing Thomas. 2 predators sizing each other up. Who would blink first? 20 minutes passed. 30. No gunshots. That was good. Then Arya saw movement on a rooftop across the street. Victor, she said quietly. I see it. More movement. Different roof. different position. That's not ours, Victor said. He grabbed his radio. We got spotters on the roofs, north and east, possible sniper positions. Inside the warehouse, someone would be relaying that to Dorian. Arya's hands clenched. This is a setup. Maybe. Or Thomas brought insurance. What do? We wait, and we watch. More figures appeared, on the ground this time, moving between buildings, surrounding the warehouse. Victor swore in Russian. They're boxing us in, his radio crackled. Dorian's voice. Get her out, now. Copy. Moving. Victor started the car. But before he could pull away, a van screeched around the corner, blocked their path. Men poured out, armed, moving fast. Backup exit, go! Victor threw the car in reverse. Gunfire erupted. The windshield spiderwebbed, held, bulletproof glass. Victor drove backward at speed, spun the car, changed direction. More gunfire. The rear window shattered. Arya ducked, covered her head, felt glass rain down on her. The car lurched, swerved, Victor fighting for control. They broke through, hit open street, accelerated. Behind them, engines revved, chase cars. Hold on, Victor said. They raced through empty streets, took corners too fast. The car fishtailed, recovered. Arya braced herself against the door, one hand on her stomach, protecting instinctively. Victor spoke into his radio, Russian, too fast for Arya to follow. They turned into an alley, narrow, barely wide enough. The chase cars couldn't follow. Too big. But motorcycles could. Two bikes screamed into the alley behind them. Victor swore. This is going to be rough. The alley ended at a loading dock. Concrete barrier. No way through. Victor slammed the brakes. The car skidded. Stopped. Out. Now. Through the building. They ran. Victor in front. Arya behind him. Through the loading dock. Into a dark warehouse. Behind them, the motorcycles stopped. Men dismounted. Victor found stairs. They climbed. 2 floors up. Then across a catwalk. Arya's lungs burned. The vest was heavy. Her legs shook. But she kept moving. They emerged on the roof. Ran across gravel. Jumped a gap to the next building. Arya landed hard. Rolled. Victor pulled her up. More running. More roofs. Finally down a fire escape. They hit street level 3 blocks from where they started. A car was waiting. Victor's backup. They got in. Drove. No pursuit. Arya collapsed against the seat, breathing hard, shaking. You okay? Victor asked. Yeah. The baby? We'll get you checked. First we get somewhere safe. What about Dorian? Victor's expression was grim. He can handle himself. But Arya heard the worry underneath. They drove to a safe house, small apartment in a quiet neighborhood, nondescript. Inside, Victor locked every door, checked every window, made calls. Arya sat on the couch, numb, waiting. An hour passed, then 2. Finally, Victor's phone rang. He answered, listened. His shoulders relaxed slightly. He's alive, he said to Arya. Dorian's alive. He's on his way here. Relief flooded through her so fast she felt dizzy. What happened? It was a setup, like you thought. But Dorian saw it coming, had his own backup. Thomas's men are either dead or running. And Thomas? Victor's expression was cold. Dorian's handling him personally. 30 minutes later, Dorian walked through the door. He was covered in blood. Not all of it his knuckles were split, his shirt torn, but he was alive. Arya ran to him. He caught her, held her tight. It's done, he said quietly. Thomas is dead. His organization is scattered. The war's over. You're sure? I'm sure. I made certain. His voice was flat, final. Arya didn't ask for details, didn't want them. She just held him and let herself believe it was finally over. They stayed at the safe house for 3 days while the city settled, while Dorian's people cleaned up the mess, while the power vacuum Thomas left behind got filled by men who knew better than to challenge Dorian Volkov. The doctor came twice, checked Arya, checked the baby. Both were fine, miraculously fine considering everything. You're lucky, the doctor said. Most women wouldn't survive this level of stress without complications. I'm not most women, Arya said quietly. The doctor smiled. No, I don't suppose you are. Dorian barely slept those 3 days. He was on the phone constantly, managing, controlling, making sure Thomas's death didn't create more problems than it solved. On the third night, he finally collapsed on the couch beside Arya. "It's really over?" she asked. "It's over. Marco and the others have agreed to a truce. New territory divisions, new rules. No one wants another war. What about the federal investigation?" "Disappeared. Turns out Thomas had connections there. Without him pushing it, there's no case." Dorian rubbed his eyes. "We're clear." Arya let that sink in. Clear. Safe. For the first time in months. "Can we go home?" she asked. "Tomorrow. Victor's doing a final sweep tonight, making sure it's secure." Home. The word felt different now. Not a prison, not a fortress, just home. They went back the next morning. The repairs were already done. New windows, new walls. You'd never know there had been a battle. But Arya knew. She saw the ghost of it in every hallway, every room. Mrs. Chen was waiting at the door. She took one look at Arya and pulled her into a hug, brief but genuine. "Welcome home, Mrs. Volkov," she said quietly. That night, Arya and Dorian had dinner in the dining room. Just the two of them. No business, no guards hovering, just husband and wife. "I've been thinking," Dorian said halfway through the meal. About? About the future. About what kind of life we want for this child." He set down his fork. "I built this empire through violence, through fear. It's effective, but it's exhausting. And it's dangerous. Are you saying you want out?" "I'm saying I want to be smarter, more legitimate, less exposed." Dorian looked at her seriously. "I have enough money to last 10 lifetimes. Enough power that people respect me. I don't need more. I need stability." "What does that look like?" Shifting focus. Moving money into legal businesses. Real estate. Technology. Things that don't require constant warfare to maintain. He paused. "It'll take years, but by the time this child is old enough to understand what their father does, I want the answer to be something I'm not ashamed of." Arya felt something shift in her chest. Hope, maybe. Or relief. "I think that's a good plan," she said. "It means changes. Some of the people I work with won't like it. There might be pushback. We'll handle it together." Dorian smiled, small but real. Together. 2 months passed. The pregnancy started to show. Arya's body changed in ways that were both fascinating and terrifying. Her training with Victor adjusted. No more combat, just conditioning, stretching, staying strong without risking the baby. "You're doing good," Victor said one morning. "Most people would have given up by now. Most people don't have your voice yelling at them every day." Victor laughed. "Fair point." Dorian started coming home earlier, spending more time at the house, less time in meetings and negotiations. He was changing too, softening in small ways. He'd put his hand on Arya's stomach and wait to feel the baby move, read books about pregnancy and fatherhood when he thought she wasn't looking. One evening, Arya found him in what would become the nursery. He was standing in the middle of the empty room, looking lost. "I don't know how to do this," he said, without turning around. "Do what?" "Be a father, be normal. I've spent 20 years being dangerous. I don't know how to be anything else." Arya walked over, took his hand. "You learn. Same way I learned everything else. One day at a time." "What if I'm bad at it?" "Then you'll be bad at it together with me, because I don't know what I'm doing either." She smiled. "We're both making this up as we go." Dorian pulled her close, rested his chin on top of her head. "I never thought I'd have this. A family. Something worth protecting that wasn't just territory or money." "You have it now." "Yeah, I do." His arms tightened around her. "I'm not going to waste it." 3 months into the pregnancy, Arya got a phone call from her mother. They hadn't spoken since the wedding. 5 months of silence. Arya almost didn't answer, but curiosity won out. "Hello?" "Arya?" Her mother's voice was tentative. "It's me." "I know." Silence, awkward and heavy. "I heard you're pregnant," her mother said finally. "Jessica told me. She ran into Mrs. Chen at the grocery store." Small town networks. You couldn't hide anything. "I am," Arya said. "How far along?" "Almost 4 months." More silence. "Are you happy?" her mother asked. The question sounded genuine. Arya thought about it. Really thought. Yes, she said. I am. That's good. I'm glad. Her mother took a breath. I know I haven't been supportive. I was angry about the wedding, about Marcus, about everything. But you're my daughter, and I miss you. Something in Arya's chest loosened. She hadn't realized how much she'd been carrying until it lifted. I miss you too, she said quietly. Can I see you? Meet him. Your husband. See that you're really okay. Arya looked across the room where Dorian sat reading reports. He glanced up, questioning. Mom wants to visit, she mouthed. He nodded, no hesitation. Yes, Arya said into the phone. Come for dinner, this weekend. Okay, thank you. Her mother's voice cracked slightly. Thank you, sweetheart. They hung up. Dorian set aside his papers. You sure about this? No, but I need to try. She's my mother. Then we'll make it work. That Saturday, Arya's parents arrived at 6. Her father looked older, smaller somehow. The stress of almost losing everything had aged him. Her mother looked nervous. Mrs. Chen answered the door, led them to the sitting room where Arya and Dorian waited. Arya stood. Her stomach was visible now under the dress she wore. Impossible to miss. Her mother's eyes went straight to it, then to Arya's face. You look good, she said. Healthy. I am. Her father approached Dorian, extended his hand. Mr. Volkov. James. Elizabeth. Thank you for coming. Dorian shook firmly. Please sit. Dinner will be ready soon. They sat. Uncomfortable silence filled the room. Finally, Arya's mother spoke. I owe you an apology, both of you. I judged this marriage without knowing anything about it, without giving you a chance. You thought I was being forced, Arya said. I don't blame you for that. Were you forced? Arya looked at Dorian. He looked back steadily. At first, yes. Sort of. It was complicated. Arya turned back to her mother. But I chose to stay. I keep choosing to stay. That has to count for something. It counts for everything, her mother said quietly. She looked at Dorian. Are you good to her? I try to be, Dorian said simply. I don't always succeed, but I try. And you'll be good to the baby? I'll die before I let anything happen to either of them. The certainty in his voice left no room for doubt. Arya's father cleared his throat. I understand you helped with the business, the debts, everything. I did. Why? Because Arya is my wife, her family is my family, and I take care of what's mine. Her father absorbed that. The shipping company, you control it now. I have interest in it, but your name is still on everything. You still run operations. Dorian's voice was measured. I simply ensure the routes stay clean. Everyone benefits. It wasn't entirely legal, but it was honest. I can live with that, her father said. Dinner was less awkward. Conversation flowed easier. Arya's mother wanted to know everything about the pregnancy. The due date, if they knew the sex yet, names they were considering. We're waiting to find out, Arya said. We want to be surprised. That's good. Old-fashioned. I like it. Her mother smiled. Have you thought about names? Arya and Dorian exchanged a glance. They'd discussed it, argued about it, still hadn't decided. We have ideas, Arya said diplomatically. After dinner, her mother pulled Arya aside while the men talked business. He loves you, her mother said quietly. I can see it. The way he looks at you. The way he positions himself between you and the door. Protective. He's always protective. This is different. This is personal. Her mother touched Arya's stomach gently. And this baby is lucky to have parents who will fight for them. We will, no matter what. I know. Her mother hugged her. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I'm sorry I wasn't there. You're here now. That's what matters. Her parents left around 9, promises to visit again, to be there for the birth, to be part of the baby's life. Arya closed the door behind them and leaned against it. That went better than expected, Dorian said. Much better. Arya smiled. Thank you for being patient with them. They're your family. Of course I was patient. He offered his hand. Arya took it. They went upstairs together, to the bedroom they'd started sharing a month ago. No discussion about it, just a natural progression. Arya got ready for bed. Dorian did the same. When they lay down, he pulled her close. His hand found her stomach. "Hey there," he said quietly, talking to the baby. Something he did every night now. "Your grandparents came today. They're good people. You'll like them." The baby kicked, strong enough for Dorian to feel. His face lit up, every time the same wonder. "Did you feel that?" he asked. "I felt it." Arya put her hand over his. "I think the baby likes your voice." "Good, because I plan on reading them bedtime stories every night." "Even when you have late meetings?" "Especially then. Priorities, remember?" Arya closed her eyes, let herself feel safe, loved, protected. The next 4 months passed in a blur of preparation. The nursery came together slowly. Dorian insisted on doing most of it himself, furniture he built by hand, walls he painted personally. "I can hire people for this," Arya said, watching him struggle with a crib. "I want to do it." He wiped sweat from his forehead. "My kid's first room. I should build it." "You're going to throw out your back." "Probably." He grinned. "Worth it." Victor became unexpectedly invested in the pregnancy. He'd quiz Arya on the baby's development, make sure she was eating right, exercising properly. "I never took you for maternal," Arya said one day. "I have 3 daughters," Victor said, "in Russia. I don't get to see them much. This is closest I've gotten in years." "You have daughters?" "Had a life before this. Wife, family, lost them when I came here." His expression was sad. "You hold on to this, Arya. Hold on tight. Family is everything." Roman stopped by one evening, gruff as ever, but he brought a gift, a small wooden box. "My grandfather made these," he said, handing it to Arya, "in the old country, for protection." Inside were 3 small icons, religious imagery Arya didn't quite understand. "Thank you," she said. "That's very kind." "Yeah, well, baby Volkov is going to need all the protection it can get." Roman's expression softened slightly. "You did good, kid. Really good." From Roman, that was high praise. 8 months in, Arya went into labor. It started at 2 in the morning, sharp pain that woke her from a dead sleep. "Dorian," she gasped. He was awake instantly. "What? What's wrong?" "I think it's time." Chaos. Beautiful organized chaos. Dorian called the doctor, Mrs. Chen appeared from nowhere with bags already packed. Victor had the car running in under 3 minutes. They made it to the hospital in record time. Dorian broke at least 5 traffic laws. "Relax," Arya said between contractions. "We have time." "You don't know that." "I've been reading too. First babies take hours usually." She was right. 12 hours of labor, long and exhausting and painful. Dorian stayed the entire time, held her hand, let her squeeze until his fingers went numb. Didn't complain once. "You're doing great," he kept saying. "You're amazing." "I'm dying." "You're not dying. You're bringing life. There's a difference." "Semantics." He laughed. Even in pain, she could make him laugh. Finally, at 2:15 in the afternoon, their daughter was born. Small. Perfect. Screaming her lungs out. The nurse placed her on Arya's chest, tiny and warm and alive. Arya looked down at her daughter and felt everything shift. All the fear, all the violence, all the darkness of the past year. It all became worth it for this moment. "She's beautiful," Dorian whispered. His voice cracked. "She's perfect. What should we name her?" They'd argued over names for months, never agreed, but looking at her now, the answer was obvious. "Hope," Arya said. "Her name is Hope." Dorian kissed Arya's forehead, then Hope's. "Hope Volkov, I like it." "Hope Bennett Volkov," Arya corrected. "She gets both of us." "Fair enough." They stayed in the hospital for 2 days. Visitors came in waves. Mrs. Chen brought flowers. Victor brought a ridiculous stuffed bear. Roman brought cigars and tried to pretend he wasn't tearing up. Arya's parents came. Her mother cried. Her father looked terrified, holding Hope, but proud. Marcus called. Arya was surprised Victor even told her. He wants to congratulate you, Victor said. Says he's happy for you. Tell him thank you and tell him we're even now. Clean slate. Marcus had made his choices. Arya had made hers. No point holding grudges. Jessica came too. Hesitant at first. They hadn't spoken much since the wedding. I'm sorry, Jessica said, for not understanding, for judging. You were right and I was wrong. You were protecting me. I don't blame you for that. Still, I should have trusted you. Jessica looked at Hope. She's gorgeous, Ari. You want to hold her? Jessica did, carefully, like Hope might break. You're going to be the great mom, she said. I hope so. Arya smiled. I'm terrified, but I hope so. They brought Hope home on a Tuesday. The house had never felt more like home. Dorian carried the car seat, treated it like it held explosives. Careful, precious. Inside, Mrs. Chen had prepared everything. Nursery perfect, food ready, everything they could need. That first night was chaos. Hope cried every 2 hours. Arya was exhausted. Dorian was useless with diapers, but tried anyway. I run a criminal empire, he muttered, struggling with the third diaper. How is this harder? Different skill set, Arya said, half asleep. Clearly. He finally got it. Looked so proud Arya had to laugh. What? He asked. Nothing. You're just cute when you're domestic. I'm not cute. I'm terrifying. Sure you are. Very terrifying with spit up on your shoulder. He looked down. Swore. When did that happen? About 5 minutes ago. They were a mess, both of them. Exhausted and overwhelmed and completely out of their depth. But they were together. Weeks passed, then months. Hope grew. Started smiling, then laughing, then trying to grab everything in reach. Dorian's business continued to shift, more legitimate operations, less violence. The transition wasn't smooth, but it was happening. Some people left, didn't like the new direction. Dorian let them go. No hard feelings, just different paths. Others stayed, adapted, found new roles in the changing empire. Victor became head of security for Dorian's legal operations. No more warfare, just protection. Roman retired, moved to Florida, sent postcards that were surprisingly cheerful. Mrs. Chen stayed, helped with Hope, became the grandmother the baby needed. Arya's parents visited every week. Her father taught Hope to recognize birds in the garden. Her mother sang old lullabies. Jessica became Hope's godmother, took the role seriously, spoiled the baby shamelessly. On Hope's first birthday, they had a party, small, just family and close friends, no business associates, no performances, just people who mattered. Arya stood in the garden watching Dorian push Hope on a swing. The baby shrieked with delight. Dorian laughed, genuine and free. Mrs. Chen appeared beside Arya. You've come a long way. We both have. No, you especially. From that scared girl at the altar to this. A mother, a wife, a survivor. I had good teachers. You had good instincts. We just helped you sharpen them. Victor joined them. Speech time? Not yet. Let them play a bit longer. They watched in comfortable silence. Hope's laughter carried on the breeze. Finally, Dorian brought her back. She was covered in grass stains and drool. Perfect. Speech time, he announced. Everyone gathered. Arya stood with Hope on her hip, Dorian beside her. Thank you all for coming, Arya said. A year ago, I didn't know if I'd survive becoming a mother in this world. But you all made it possible. You protected us, supported us, became our family. Short speech, Victor called out. I like it. Everyone laughed. Dorian took over. What Arya's too humble to say is that she's the reason any of this works. She took a situation that should have broken her and turned it into strength. She became the foundation this family is built on. He looked at Arya. I told you once that I gave you a choice. I'm giving you another one now. The 6 months is long past. The original deal is fulfilled. You can leave if you want. Take Hope. Start fresh somewhere safe. Arya's heart stopped. She hadn't expected this. Or, Dorian continued, you can stay, really stay, not because of a deal or obligation, but because you want to. Because this is home. He pulled something from his pocket, a small box. Inside was a new ring, different from the one he'd given her at the church. This one was simpler. A single band with small diamonds set into it. Elegant, personal. "So what do you say, Arya Bennett Volkov?" Dorian asked. "Will you stay married to me? For real this time. By choice." Arya looked at him. At the man who'd saved her from humiliation and taught her to save herself. Who'd shown her strength she didn't know she had. Who'd given her a daughter and a future worth fighting for. "Yes," she said. "I'll stay." Dorian slipped the new ring onto her finger, next to the old one, past and present together. He kissed her, soft and sweet. A promise. Hope grabbed both their faces, demanding attention. They broke apart laughing. Around them, their chosen family cheered. This wasn't the life Arya had planned. Wasn't even close. But it was hers, built from ashes and fear and desperate choices. And she wouldn't trade it for anything. That night, after the party ended and Hope was asleep, Arya and Dorian sat in the library. Their space, where so many conversations had happened. "Do you ever regret it?" Arya asked. "Marrying me? All the complications I brought?" "Never. Not once." Dorian pulled her closer. "You brought complications, but you also brought hope. Real hope. Not just our daughter, but the belief that I could be more than what I was. You were always more. I didn't believe it until you." Arya rested her head on his shoulder. "We're going to be okay, aren't we? Better than okay. We're going to build something real, something that lasts. No more wars? No more wars, just life. Normal, boring, beautiful life." "Sounds perfect." It does. They sat in comfortable silence. Outside, the gardens were dark. But inside, surrounded by books and warmth and each other, everything was light. Arya thought back to that day at the altar, standing alone, humiliated, broken. She thought about Dorian walking down that aisle, taking her hand, offering her a choice that wasn't really a choice. And she thought about every choice since, every moment of fear and courage, every decision that led here, to this house, this family, this life. It hadn't been smooth, hadn't been easy, hadn't been anything like she'd imagined, but it was hers, and that was enough, more than enough. Upstairs, Hope made a small sound through the baby monitor, not crying, just dreaming. Arya and Dorian both looked up, listening. She settled back to sleep. "We should get some rest too," Dorian said. "She'll be up in a few hours. Just a few more minutes. I like sitting here with you." "Me too." So they stayed, holding each other in the quiet house, two people who'd found each other in the worst possible way and somehow made it work. Outside, the gate stood tall, protection from the world. Inside, a family slept, safe, together, whole. The shattered vow from that altar had become something new, something stronger, a vow freely given, freely kept, for better or worse, in violence and peace, through fear and hope, together, always together. And that, finally, was enough.